ADHD and social emotional learning. That is what we are talking about today with our guest, Dr. Matt. Dr. Matt is a high energy, creative clinical psychologist and professional speaker who utilizes an eclectic approach to meet the specific needs of his neurodivergent clients. Dr. Matt has a lot of great application information. He sees clients clinically, and he also does a lot of training. So today in our show, we're going to discuss what is neurodivergent. Who's considered to be neurodivergent? I think that term is discussed a lot, and maybe we don't have a crystal clear picture of that. We're also going to talk about ADHD, how it manifests itself, and we're also going to talk about the importance of social emotional learning. Our students can really struggle on so many levels with social emotional learning. So how can we help to support them in this area? Let's get into this episode with Dr. Matt. I'm Rose Griffin, a speech therapist, board-certified behavior analyst, and founder of ABA Speech. It wasn't all that long ago that I felt overwhelmed by providing therapy for my autistic students and any students who were not yet speaking. Fast forward through many doubts, tears, research, and courses, and you will see the framework that I use today and share with over 60,000 readers weekly. One that will help you support your students and feel more confident in the process. I created the ABA Speech podcast to give you simple, step-by-step strategies to help you reach all of your students wherever they are on their communication journeys. If you're a speech therapist, BCBA, RBT student, or parent who's looking to help all students develop a way to communicate with the world, you are in the right place, friend. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, the ABA Speech Podcast. We have a great guest for us today. We have Dr. Matt with us. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Rose, it's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
We were just talking before I pressed record, and he said that he's in New Jersey. And I was like, hey, shout out Autism, New Jersey. That is not where we met, but I went to that conference last year. And I always like to tell people how conferences are, because that one is fun. It's in Atlantic City, and you're just in this little cocoon of a resort, and you kind of hang out, and it's there's an inside pool, and it's a cool vibe. But it's a really nice conference. The people that put it on are really awesome. I did a talk on the power of joint attention, and we actually had somebody on from the show who talked about PDA at that conference this past year. So it's a cool conference. But you have written a book, and I haven't really shared it anywhere, but I actually am going to start writing a book in the year of 2025. And so I'm sweating just saying that, to be honest. But you wrote a book, so congratulations to you. And it's one that I'm excited to talk about today. It's called the Neurodiversity Playbook. What inspired you to write a book?
Well, I'm lucky enough to be not only a clinical psychologist, but also a professional speaker. So I travel around and I give a lot of the same talks, and I often have like my go-to therapy expressions. Right. And my publisher was like, we should just make a book that's a pocket Dr. Matt, right? What's the best parts of you distilled into book form? And I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
So because when you're as busy as I am, you're trying to create stuff that's both evergreen and offline.
Yes.
Because right now my work is very much a zero-sum game. I'm either presenting at this conference or this conference. I can see this many therapy clients a week, right?
Right.
So, but if someone can listen to my podcast or read my book, those are things that exist outside of the direct access space. Mm-hmm. And helping people when I'm not directly helping them is a really cool thing to be able to do.
Yeah, I love that. And, somebody that is in one of my masterminds, which is just this group of business people that get together if you don't have a small business, it is somebody who has written a book and writes for Forbes. And he said, a lot of people, if they're thinking about learning about a topic, they will oftentimes go to Amazon or their favorite place that they buy books, and they'll look that topic up. And I was like, because for me with an online business, I usually think oh, could I take a course on that? Is there some guru that talks about it? But a lot of people go to Amazon or wherever you buy books and look up that topic and think oh, maybe I'll just start here. I'll start with a book. I'm going to learn something. And I love the name of your book, Neurodiversity Playbook. I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot, neurodivergent. So can you explain to our listeners who exactly is considered neurodivergent, right? It's not just autistic learners. It could be ADHD or like what does that umbrella term mean really?
Yeah, and it's always so important to level set. So, so there really are two different kinds of brains in the world. There are neurotypical brains, right? And about 80% of people are neurotypical. Their brains function more or less as we'd expect a brain to function.
Yeah.
And that's really important, right? Because the world is built for and by neurotypical people, right? I always use the analogy like if you're planning a dinner party, you're going to cook something that a lot of people can eat. You're not going to plan the entire menu around your friend's roommate's sister's partner who's vegan and dairy free, right?
Right.
We want that person to be able to eat at the dinner party, but I'm going to cook
Hmm.
chicken for everybody and
Hmm.
make sure I have some quinoa salad for the person, right?
Hmm.
But we need systems that can adapt to the needs of neurodivergent learners. And the reason we use the term neurodivergent is that what we see as ADHD, autism, dyslexia, giftedness, ODD, OCD, these things come from literal measurable brain differences, right?
Right.
And I'll tell you, it's so important because I'm out there and I talk to schools and I talk to administrators and I talk to mental health professionals.
Hmm.
Still a lot of people out there who think ADHD is a choice,
Oh,
right? And a lot of, I hear like autism is badism. It's just bad thing. And I'm like, I can show you brain scans, guys. And like,
yeah.
and as someone with ADHD myself, like it is so much a question of can't, not a question of won't. But most
Right.
people don't see it that way. Most people see it as won't. And when I
Yeah.
can point to those brain differences, but also how the brain changes over time when you
Hmm.
look at it, like we are rewiring the brain in a positive way, right?
Hmm.
So the neuroscience not only strengthens my argument, but it also helps my clients understand that it's not just you, right?
Right.
The thing your brain is doing, and that helps give us a little clinical distance so we feel a little bit better about what comes next.
Yeah, that's interesting. My son just got diagnosed as ADHD. I'm for certain one of my other children has something going on too. We're doing those Vanderbilts this week. And it's interesting because I feel like ADHD is not something I know a lot about as a speech therapist in BCBA, but I read a book, gonna mess the name up, maybe Dr. Berkeley. It's somebody.
Russell Barkley, yeah, he's
Yes, I
the guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I got the big book about what all the ADHD, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is like so fascinating." It described my son to a T. But what's interesting about ADHD is that it can manifest itself in so many different ways. And I picked social emotional learning to talk about today because I feel like that's a struggle. I'm sure that kids, my son's on 504 now, and I don't really talk about it a lot. I'm not going to like leverage that to like grow my Instagram account or anything like I see other people doing. But it's okay. So you have ADHD. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I feel like you can probably help people in such a specific way because you're like, I think it's almost like a hidden disability. It's like, no, your brain works different. But people don't really understand that. Living with people who have ADHD, I mean, you can just see that the processing is different and it manifests itself in so many different ways. And I think kids in schools probably just get maybe misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, not diagnosed correctly. Then it goes to parents. Are they going to use medication? Or are they not? I mean, there's just like a whole host of issues. And I'm realizing how big of a deal ADHD is. So I'm sure you are really busy with your speaking.
I mean, it's a revolution, right? There's all
Yeah.
this stuff that's happening right now when we're putting the word out there, and it is a beautiful and wonderful thing that we're doing, right? But there's so much level setting that needs to happen, right? And we
Hmm.
are just sort of swimming uphill a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's, I'm sure you've heard the line like a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets a chance to put its pants on.
Oh, okay, no, but I like that because
Yeah.
that's called social media. That's the world I live in, and
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh yeah, uh-huh. I like that.
Yep. So like, and people, you mentioned medication, right? And
Yeah.
like, I'm a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. I cannot prescribe medication. But what my professional goal for myself last year was to stop, hedging my bets around medication and be like, listen, medication works. Like
Right.
it doesn't work for every kid,
Yeah.
but it works. And I call it the restaurant rule. If you go out to dinner and you have a good meal, you're like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. And you might tell a
Yeah.
few friends. But if your steak is wildly undercooked and the French fries are burned and the server spits in your coffee, you're
Right.
going to tell everybody, right? So the kids out there who've who went on Prozac and had a manic episode, their parents
Right.
jump online. Those are the
Yeah.
stories that aggregate at the top. But the fact is, most people who are on medication do very well on it.
Yeah.
Some things like ADHD and OCD in particular, and bipolar disorder, who really like medication is the primary line of defense.
Mm-hmm.
I can't therapy your kid into not having ADHD. I can
Right.
help your kid develop skills and strategies to manage their ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
be most effective in doing so. I need their brain to be able to give me a fighting chance.
Right. Right.
And so like I think about this kid all the time, like well, and actually I can use his name because, we did a video about this for this community mental health organization I worked for. His name is Shane, and he was the sweetest, cutest little kid I ever worked with,
Yeah.
so ADHD. And like in session, he would yes me to death. You got it, Dr. Matt. Whatever you say, Dr. Matt. Of course, Dr. Matt. This is a great idea, Dr. Matt. And
Right.
like, and then he would go out into the community and forget the things, and like his brain
Right.
was going too fast, and he wouldn't use the skills. And I finally got mom to sign up on doing medication, and I
Yeah.
rarely ever in my career seen a kid change that fast. I
Wow.
Principal of his school called me like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What I like, well, he's listening to me. He's paying attention." I was like, "Well, we
Hmm.
give the brain a fighting chance, right?"
Right.
It's such a powerful thing out there to like. I want to load for bear. I want to bring every possible tool to my kid's treatment. And
Right.
if medication doesn't work, I want to know that it didn't work. I don't want to say,
Right.
well, it won't work for me, so I won't try it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I see kids now that I know about ADHD. I've been in the field over 20 years, but now I do a lot of observations in classrooms because 2 days a week I'm a treating clinician and my whole world is opened up. I'm like, oh my goodness, this kid probably has ADHD. Like I can just tell, right? Like the standing desk, the kid who's having trouble, the kid who's constantly fidgeting and tapping it. And that's not everybody and how it manifests, but once you learn about it or love someone who has ADHD, it opens your world up and you're like, oh wow, this is a whole thing. So in your book, you talk about a lot of cool stuff, but can you share the importance of social emotional learning for our students? Why is that so very important?
Oh, and I love that. I mean, this is so it's sort of a two-pronged thing, right? The first is that we have spent the last 25 years sucking all of the joy out of school, right? Research
Yeah.
research shows us that recess time is down 73% over the last 20
Mm,
years. Kids
hmm.
aren't getting as much passing time in the hallway. Kids aren't doing extracurriculars. They're not doing the arts. We're cutting shop and gym and all these things. The places where kids were having unstructured time
Hmm.
to socialize, to gab about, right? Like one of the schools I work with closely, they made their lunch 15 minutes, which is really like okay, we're preparing kids for the workplace. That was their argument. I'm like, what a terrible preparation. We
Oh,
should be doing
right.
that. Ah,
Oh,
right.
right. Yeah, work-life balance. Yeah, that's
I
terrible.
mean, we're not so we're not giving the kids the skills to practice it. We also know that one of the ways in which neurodivergent people really are different is that their social emotional programming works a lot differently.
Hmm.
And since the world is built for and by neurotypicals, a lot of the reason neurodivergent kids like me will feel really sort of off put, like wrong footed in social situations, is our brains work differently. So
Right.
we're not picking up the same social skills. We're not picking up those moments, the emotional regulation that comes with those interactions. So to put people in the places they need to be successful, whether it's a class with a standing desk or a therapy office or a social
Yeah.
skills group or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or American Ninja Warrior or whatever it is, we also need to give our kids the distinct, discrete skill set to be successful there. Right.
Right.
And so that would be like me buying you an awesome bike, Rose, without training wheels or a helmet. Right.
Hmm.
Well, you've got a bike. Other kids can ride bikes, and you're like, that's great. I've never seen a bike before in my life. I grew up in the city. I don't need I don't have a bike. Right.
Hmm.
But I'm like, well, other kids your age can ride a bike. So chop chop. Right. So this is the idea of yes, there are kids who can learn it on their own and they model it and they perceive it. But research shows very clearly that when we make the social programming overt and intentional and we give kids opportunities to practice it, kids become more resilient, they become more social, they become more adaptable, they show more theory of mind. I mean, it's really a beautiful thing. And what I hear from teachers is that more kids who have more SEL, they're spending more time in the classroom actually engaged in learning.
Right.
So the teachers aren't spending as much time redirecting them behaviorally, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have the, if we increase your wiring to be successful in those moments, then okay, well, that's really powerful because then it's a virtuous cycle. When you feel better, you do better. When you do better, you feel better. When you feel better, you
Right.
do even better. We
Right.
want that for our kids.
Yeah. And you know what I have learning just on my own personal journey here with ADHD is that it seems like, and we have a great supportive staff and it's great, but it seems like maybe teachers should have a whole class or a one semester hour elective on on ADHD. I don't know if that's part of the programming. Do you feel like some teachers just don't have a lot of awareness? Like in your work in the schools, do you feel like some teachers are not really aware of ADHD and kind of how it can manifest itself in the classroom?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, I mean, when I lived in Greater Philadelphia, I worked for the Pennsylvania Association for Gifted Education Board,
Mm.
and I I did some research and I found that, of all the college majors, education has one of the highest turnovers from I was this major to this is what I do for a living, right? It's
Mm.
business, education, and nursing are the top three, right?
Hmm.
And which kind of makes sense, right? Like if you're going to major in those things, like if you major in psychology, you could do anything. Like
Right.
not, but like if you're going to major in education, a lot of them end up being educators.
Hmm.
I was like, let me go talk to these groups and see how much they know about gifted kids and how much they know about neurodivergent kids. And what I found is that very few of these programs had full classes on neurodivergent learners. And
Mm.
a lot of those classes, if they had them, were electives, right?
Oh.
Spending a lot of time teaching reading fundamentals. A lot of time on
Hmm.
classroom management, but we're not. But if we keep dealing with the symptoms, not the root cause of the problem, then we're
Yeah.
really only slapping band-aids on broken legs, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so it's a thing that, I said, like, listen, I'm a professional speaker. I will come to you, I will do an hour talk for free,
Hmm.
I will bring donuts, right?
All
But let
right.
me talk to your kids so they know what to expect when in the classroom about 504 plans, about IEPs, because
Right.
a lot of teachers don't get training on that. But those are the kids who are going to need the most work and they need
Yes.
support. And it was amazing how few of those programs took me up on this, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Like, so I mean, but I mean, that's why I go on podcasts. That's why I speak at conferences,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna change hearts and minds. If we have to do it one person at a time, then so freaking be it.
I love the passion. I'm right there with you. So with social emotional learning, what do you think that looks like for intervention? Like in the school district that I work in my kids' own district 2 days a week as a treating speech therapist. We have a really amazing like MTSS program, and some kids get brought up to team for problems in math or delays in reading, but we also talk about behavior, which sometimes I feel like if a kid is not yet diagnosed with ADHD and is having all these issues, it can manifest itself in behavior, like you're saying. If no, you don't understand, if we front load this SEL curriculum or intervention, then the kid will probably be in your classroom longer. That really hits home. That's for so many kids. But do you have like, what are your ideas for social emotional learning? Like, do you recommend that, or the districts that you've worked in, like, do they have a curriculum that's going out to all students? Do they have something that's tied to MTSS for the kids who really need it? Is it done by the guidance counselor? Because what's interesting about ADHD, which I'm sorry, I'm captivating your whole conversation on this because it's relatable to my personal life, but is that, as a speech therapist, I might have a kid with ADHD on my caseload, but it's not because directly of the ADHD. It might be that's manifesting itself in a language disorder or, social skills delays. And that's not everybody. What's interesting about ADHD is it really just manifests itself in so many different ways. But what do you recommend for kids who, districts that are really kind of like gold standard for this social emotional learning piece?
So I think ideally good SEL is school-wide. It's a school-wide thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, we teach every kid to drive a car, right? We give every kid first aid training. Like some kids need it more than other kids, but every kid should know. And then ideally your school counselors are providing additive services to people who need them more.
Mm-hmm.
That's ideally what we're doing. Um, and and that becomes, I think, a very important thing because otherwise you're only giving the kids social skills classes who need the social classes. Well, then it becomes really stigmatized.
Right.
What I find for a lot of even neurotypical kids, it's like when you're in a group project and you have to deal with conflict, do you have the skills to deal with conflict? Right? When you have to talk to a teacher about being accused of cheating on a test or turning your homework, and you keep your emotional stuff sorted to have those conversations. And a lot of times what we see is when you don't have the skills to do it, you're not successful at it, and it creates a downward spiral. So every kid, if we have those classes, we make this stuff overt and intentional, everybody learns it, everybody benefits from it, and the kids who need it more can do more with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with a lot of SEL programs that you can buy off the shelf, and there's many that you can,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are built for a very neurotypical learner, and a lot of them feel a little juvenile, a little like I
Mm-hmm.
don't use the word patronizing, but like a little like stop telling me what to do, start telling me how to do it. A little bit
Yeah.
more pragmatic, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so for our brighter kids, our kids who are more atypical, that's like, no, I know talking to people is good, but how do I have a conversation?
Right.
Those are the things that become more meaningful. So that's where a lot of the SEL work I do, like we do a lot of gamification of it. So it's like, let's
Mm-hmm.
play a social skills game, like the classic improv game Questions is a good one. You go back and forth and you could only ask each other questions, and it shows you how much we don't actually listen. We just want to talk. And it's a
Yes.
powerful exercise for our kids because it's like, no, that was a sentence you have to put in the line. And they're like, oh, I hate this.
Right. Yes. Oh, I like that idea. Okay, I'm in this very kind of mindset coaching mastermind, another mastermind I'm in, but it's based on some Quaker method, but it's very much like that. You're not supposed to give specific, logical, tactical. It's not like send this email to your subscribers. It's like they ask questions, and it's very facilitative. So I can imagine that questions, that would be a fun game. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I love that. Well, that's really cool. So you're doing speaking, you have this book, and you're speaking at conferences and all that stuff. Amazing. Tell people, I know we just scratched the surface today, but it's very interesting. I think it's so very important. I know a lot of people listening will want to learn more. Where can people find out more about you and your work?
So I'm chronically online. So I have two primary platforms. So my therapy practice is the Neurodiversity Collective. And I would say, like, if you need me for you, that's the Neurodiversity Collective. And it's me and we have a strong team of therapists and coaches that we work with all over the country. Um, and for the speaking and consulting part of what I do, that's drmattzakreski.com. So I always say, if you need me for you, it's Neurodiversity Collective. If you need me for your organization, then that's drmattzakreski.com. But if you end up at one, you should be the other. It's not like we won't help you. It's just make your life a little easier. Yeah,
Sounds great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really fun to talk.
it was seriously. You're so energetic and pleasant. That was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.